Hi, this is Mr. Fernandez with a quick debrief for this practice short answer question. So here are the two secondary source excerpts that form the center of this short answer question prompt. One by Matthew Josephson and the other by H.W. Brands, both about the late 19th century Gilded Age economic transformations. And here are the prompts. The first one asks you, as in always or almost always will, to interpret the stimulus here, those two excerpts, and explain a major difference in this case between the two. So here's my example. So notice how I begin by restating the question. Always restate the question and provide a brief answer to the question. So I say that one major difference between these perspectives is in the extent to which they provided positive benefits to American society. And then I go on to provide a more detailed description of each author's claim. Josephson says that things were bad, that these industrial leaders succeeded through immoral and lawless practices. Sorry about that. While transforming and making more efficient the American capitalist economy. So they were generally bad, even though they did, they did provide some benefits to the overall economy. They were not great people. While Brands argues that industrial leaders were captains of industry, that he believes were socially, economically beneficial. So look at your answer. Here's what the College Board says are some examples of responses that would earn the point. You can pause, read their suggestions, and then see if you got the point. Okay, so the second prompt is to, and this is, very typical, very formulaic. In other words, this is almost exactly what you'll see on the actual AP exam, something along these lines, where they will have you then move from providing a description or analysis of the document that they, or the excerpts that they provide to you, to talking about history and how it pertains to the document or the excerpts. Here they want you to explain how something in history, not mentioned explicitly by Josephson, the first author, could be used to support his own interpretation. And here's what I write. One specific historical event I suggest that could be used to support his negative portrayal of Gilded Age business leaders is the concept of social Darwinism. So I restate the claim. The claim is not my claim. It's the claim of Matthew Fry Josephson. That's his name, right? Matthew Josephson. Sorry, I'm getting confused with a guy named Matthew Fry Jacobson, who's another historian. Anyway, that's the claim. And the evidence is that I'm providing is social Darwinism. So I identify the evidence in my first sentence. That's and then I describe a little bit what social Darwinism means. Notice how it's just a sentence, but it does provide a basic definition of social Darwinism. The reasoning part, and this is the part that I have to have in order to show that I truly did explain how that social Darwinism, which is my person, event, or development, could be used to support Josephson's interpretation that the business leaders of the Gilded Age were bad. That's where I really get the point, is where I explain that connection. So social Darwinism was used by late 19th century business leaders to prevent any efforts to limit their business practices, which were often viewed as exploitative, supporting Josephson's case that they were harmful to American society. Social Darwinism was justified the lack of government action against the dubious business practices of people like Andrew Carnegie and John Rockefeller. These are what, according to the College Board, the things that you could have gotten the point for. These are examples, but this is pretty exhaustive. So take a second, pause, and look at your own answer to B and see if you got the points. Remember that you have to provide details about the piece of evidence, that you're providing, and that you identified as the thing that supports Josephson's argument, and you have to explain the connection between that piece of evidence and Josephson's interpretation, which is that these people were not great. If you did that, give yourself a point. If you didn't, then you didn't earn the point this time. Lastly is prompt C. Briefly explain how one person event blah 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 could be used to support Brands' interpretation that these folks were generally positive elements in the 19th century economic history. And here is my answer. I begin by restating the claim of the excerpt, which is Brands' excerpt. That is a positive portrayal. I describe the evidence, which is the gospel of wealth. I just provide a basic definition of it, and then in the blue part is the reasoning where I explain the connection between gospel of wealth and the positive side of these business leaders. Here is what the College Board thinks are some good responses. Look at yours, see if you got the point, and then give yourself a point if you provided adequate evidence that was adequately described and you connected it explicitly to Brands' argument. Thank you, and let me know if you have any questions.